In today's video, I'll be talking about the newest HP Prebuilt gaming PC. This one is the HP Victus 15l. Now, Victus was a lineup that used to make gaming laptops, but now they decided to step up and start making gaming desktops. And I'm going to talk about the specifications, what you can run with this PC, and we are also going to compare it with other Prebuilt PCs at the same price. This is a budget gaming desktop, so if you have a budget above $1,200, you may want to go with other Prebuilt PCs, but don't worry about it. I'm going to talk about it in this video, and I recommend you to stick to the end of this video if you have a budget between $900 to $1,200, because it's actually pretty interesting and I'm going to explain why. Before starting, I want to say that if you find helpful information throughout this video, leave a like and subscribe, and most importantly, hit the bell button so you get notified when I upload this type of content, which I do from 3 to 5 times a week. So now let's start. So we are going to start with the specifications for this PC, and if you don't understand anything about computers, don't worry about it, because I'm going to make it simpler for you once I finish saying what this PC has to offer on the base model without customizing anything. So for the CPU, you get the i5-12400. This is the latest version of Intel, and this is something pretty nice because on the HP Pavilion lineup have the 11th gen, which is not bad on a budget, but of course you want the latest of the latest, and they decided to put the i5-12400 for the base model, which is pretty good. You get 8 gigs of RAM, and I hate to see this, but at least it's 2 sticks of 4 gigs. This means that it's dual channel, so it's not that terrible, but I recommend you upgrading it anyway, but I'll talk about that in a second. You get 256 gigs of SSD. Now, this might not be enough for you. It really depends on the games you play, but you want to upgrade this too if you have the budget to. And lastly, but most importantly for gaming, the graphics card. You get the GTX 1660 Super, which is a great budget graphics card. While it's not budget right now because of the market that we all know, but the 1660 Super is basically going to run every single game at 1080p 60 FPS average, even the high demanding ones, so you don't have to worry about gaming on 60 frames per second at 1080p, because this PC is going to average more than that in every single game, ultra settings, no matter the game. This base model has a price of $900, which I think it's a good price for the specifications that it brings. Like I said, if you want a gaming PC for 60 frames per second at 1080p, it actually has a nice design. The airflow is pretty similar to the HP Pavilion. I don't think it's the best airflow for any type of PC, but you don't get the highest end hardware either, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. I actually have an HP Pavilion gaming desktop, and I have a review about it that you can go ahead and watch in the top right of the screen. So if you're concerned about that stuff, just go and watch that video. It's really similar to this PC, but it's just a model below. But back to the topic, $900 for a gaming desktop that has the i5-12400 and the GTX 1660 Super. It's pretty good, but I think you have to make these upgrades in order to make this PC way better. The first one being the power supply. I would recommend just for $25 extra to get the 500 watts option power supply, and the next two upgrades I would make them by myself. This means that I would open the gaming PC and change it by myself, because it's going to be much cheaper than upgrading it from the HP website. But if you want to upgrade from the HP website because you don't want to put it by yourself, that's totally up to you and up to your budget. And those two upgrades are the RAM. I would recommend you to upgrade to 16 gigs of RAM, which is basically the standard for gaming nowadays, and I would put 1 TB of SSD for the primary storage. Now, if you think that is too expensive, I understand it. Go with 1 TB of hard drive on the secondary storage instead of the 1 TB of SSD. It's going to be much cheaper, but it's going to be much slower as well. And the total price with these three upgrades, the power supply, the storage, and the RAM, would be $1,174. The price is still pretty good for what it has to offer, but you can get this at a much cheaper price if you buy them separately from Amazon. Don't worry, we have the links in the description as well with this gaming Prebuilt PC, of course. So if you buy them separately, you're going to spend $130 for the two upgrades, 16 gigs of RAM and the terabyte of SSD. So the total price would be $1,054. You're saving around $120, and that's something that you're literally saving for free just by putting these things by your own, which is pretty easy. There's a bunch of tutorials on YouTube, but if you're not sure if you want to do this, don't worry, buy it from the HP website, but you're going to be spending more money than you should be. So for $1,050, you can get a gaming PC with 16 gigs of RAM, a terabyte of SSD, a 1660 Super, and the i5-12400. That is a pretty good deal actually. Then if you have more money, you can upgrade the graphics card to the RTX 3060, but I don't think it's worth the upgrade if you're going to play just at 1080p. For a 1080p monitor, this one is going to be able to average more than 200 FPS in competitive games. So if you want to play games like Fortnite, CSGO, and those type of games, of course on low settings, which is what I recommend, you're going to be able to average more than 200 FPS. So don't worry about gaming, this one is going to work just fine. You don't need to upgrade to the RTX 3060 unless you want a 1440p monitor. In that case, I would go with a 3060, but if not, don't worry about it. So now it's time to compare this Prebuilt PC to other Prebuilt PCs on the market and see if it's worth the buy. Now with the first PC that we are going to compare it with is the CyberPower PC Gaming Stream VR from Amazon. This one is $959 and it has the i5 11400F, 8 gigs of RAM, but this time on single channel, the RTX 2060 and 500 gigs of SSD. Once again, here you will need to upgrade the RAM and storage, so the total price will be around $1,080, so it's going to be a little bit more expensive than the other one. Here you get better airflow, actually you get a better graphics card just by a little bit. You're not going to notice any difference between the 1660 Super and the RTX 2060 other than ray tracing, which by the way it's an entry level of ray tracing. It's not something that is going to be like a beast of ray tracing, but the bad part on the CyberPower PC is that you get the i5 11400F and you don't get the i5 12400, which believe me, there's a huge difference on these two. So for me, the HP is going to win on this case because of that CPU, and it's actually going to cost you less if you upgrade it by yourself. Now I don't think the CyberPower PC it's a bad deal at all, so if you don't trust HP or you don't want to buy a gaming PC from HP, I think this CyberPower PC is going to be your best option for the price. But once again, I think the HP overall is going to win, and it actually has a better looking design than the CyberPower PC. Now I don't care about case designs, but if you want a clean aesthetic gaming PC to fit to your desk, then the HP is going to be a much better option as well. Now we are going to compare it to the iBuyPower SLMR G204. This one is a same day ready system. It's $900 and it comes with the Ryzen 3 3100 AB550 motherboard, 60 gigs of RAM at 3200 MHz and 500 gigs of SSD. Now if we compare it to the base model of the HP Pavilion, which is the same price, this one is going to have more storage and more RAM, but the CPU GPU combination is going to be a much worse option, and also the airflow is not great on the iBuyPower one, so I would still prefer HP for this case. I know you have to upgrade the storage and RAM, but the GTX 1650 is way worse than the GTX 1660 Super, and the Ryzen 3 3100 is way worse than the i5 12400, so for gaming the HP is still going to win. What I'm saying is that the HP is one of the best in terms of price performance on a budget. I wouldn't buy HP if you have between $1,200 to $1,700, because the medium end HP gaming desktops I think are not worth the buy. I think you should buy the budget models of the HP or the highest end 45Ls, which by the way I have a video about them, but HP did a great job here with budget PCs as well with the HP Pavilion and other lineups like the Envy. So overall I think this PC is going to be great if you have $900 or $1,050, which is where you get to upgrade these components. Now you don't have to upgrade them right now if you don't have the money to. You can do these upgrades later on, but those are upgrades that you should keep in mind at all times for you to get a much better gaming experience, especially with the RAM, because the storage is going to add more space to your PC. But if you want to download a lot of games, this one is going to be a really necessary upgrade, especially if you're going to play games like Red Dead Redemption 2 and GTA 5. But if you're going to play games like CSGO and Valorant, then it's alright to have 256 GB of SSD, but if you play the other games, then you should definitely upgrade it. So that was my whole video about this new HP PC. If you found it helpful, leave a like and subscribe, and most importantly hit the bell button like I said at the beginning of the video. You will have the links to all of these below in the description, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section and I will try to reply as fast as possible and try to help to find your right PC. Thank you guys for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you on the next one.